All right, listing queens, we are back with another amazing, amazing human being. And this interview is going to be so chock full of, and they all are, but please get your pens and paper ready to capture all the goodness. I'm going to introduce to you a 20-year veteran. She looks like she's, I don't know how that happened, but she's a top realtor, team leader. She is a coach as well. And so, hello, Tina Beliveau. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share today.
Oh, great. I'm so thankful that you're here. Okay, Tina, I want to give them a little background.
Yeah.
I caught you on a podcast, which is why I invited you to be a speaker. And now I forget the name of the podcasting. But one of the things that the thing that you mainly talked about was digital farming. And I think that as women and as listing queens in training, right, to be
Yep.
more listings heavy versus, more buyer heavy, I think that there couldn't be a better strategy. I want everyone to know that when you started, you went to the top and you got a team and then you got burnt out. And
Yeah.
then you went into, I guess, building a brokerage with top performers.
Mm.
And only, I believe, since 2020, you came
Yep.
back into the field. Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I had that background because that is really, I know a lot of our women are going to be making 200, 250,000 or more, but they're still in the hustle. And I
Yeah.
really want them, everybody that's going to gain a lot from this, but I want them to really understand that, that this idea of digital farming is a great way to build efficiency and effectiveness. So why don't you talk to us just in a global way of how you actually came up with the idea of creating the Facebook groups?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll give you the very abbreviated backstory. So I've been in the business for 19 years, coming up on 20 years,
Okay.
ground up. So, I've done a lot of different things. I've always been a referral based and relationship based agent. So that was my bread and butter. I started team building 10 years ago as my book of business was growing and growing. And around that time is when I started traditional, like old school farming through the mail. So at the time, I just moved into the house that I'm in now, and I really wanted to like build my presence in that area, be a listing queen, be very listing heavy. That was really, the first move I made with my team was I brought a buyer's agent in and started focusing really hardcore on listings. So I started farming. And at the time, really the best practice was to, farm as large of an area as you can afford. That made sense mathematically as far as turnover rates and average sale price and all the different kind of like mathematical nuances that go into farming, which is kind of a topic in and of itself. So
Yes.
at the kind of the peak of the time that I was focusing on this area, I was mailing to 5,000 households every single month, and it worked. It worked. It definitely built my brand. It built my market share. And I was taking a lot of listings in this area and then hosting open houses. And, like things really build on themselves when you niche yourself, which is a very powerful thing.
Yes.
The downside to farming that way is number one, it's expensive. And there are hacks to that, getting sponsors and things like that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of financial output. You do need to stay consistent. You really do need a piece going out every month to get that good return. So you need consistency. And in my case, and I'm sure like a lot of the people watching this, like I don't like to send out junk. So I was also involved in the content and making sure it wasn't just some like crappy templated postcard that we bought from an online source that didn't even like reflect my brand. So at the end of the day, there was like a time and a money component that made it was like a project to keep that thing running, even though I had like an admin doing it. So it was working for me, but that's kind of like what it required from me at the time. So this was in 2014, 2015, the timeline I'm giving you. And then in 2015, I decided to create a Facebook group to augment the farm.
Mm.
And the group is called Living in Lutherville, Timonium. It's kind of a mouthful, but Lutherville, Timonium is the area, my farm area. And at the time, groups worked a little differently back then. You could kind of plot people in a group back in those days, whether they wanted to be in it or not. So I added everyone that I knew, everyone in my sphere, my past client list, et cetera, that lived in that niche. And then I did a little bit with it, but it wasn't the cornerstone of my strategy. And what I love about this story is I'm such a believer in playing the long game in real estate and letting things grow and nurturing them thoughtfully. But I just abandoned that group for years. Like you mentioned in my intro, I pivoted into brokerage management for several years, put my lead generation time, energy, and money elsewhere in my real estate team during that time. And then in 2020, I decided to return to the sales side of the business, get out of the brokerage side. And that is really when this group started to take off. And what's funny about it is the pandemic is really what happened, where my group actually got my attention again. So what happened at right when COVID started, the first thing I actually did was I launched a Facebook group for my past clients, because I was in a situation at that moment where I wanted to re-engage with all the people that I had not been keeping in touch with during my management time. So I wasn't even focusing on my farm group. The story doesn't even pick up until 2022, really. But what happened in 2020 is the farm group did start to just organically grow. People were just finding it on Facebook because they were looking for a place to connect with their neighbors. So at the end of 2020, I was like, I don't even have my notifications turned on in the group. Like, it was like so not like a focus. So I turned my notifications on and started paying attention to the group and like commenting when people ask questions and just being a presence. And that was kind of my strategy for all of the year 2021. I just was sort of engaging organically. I didn't have a vision at the time for what I was going to do. But what happened was I did have like some good building blocks in place for the group. So people started reaching out to me about hiring me, which was a first, because that, again, just hadn't been what my radar was on. So this is where the story picks up. Beginning of 2022, I decided to make it like an official branch of my lead generation. And just like statistic wise, to give you an idea, over that time, we've gone from 300 members to over 6,000 members. Big group, but not huge. There are way bigger groups. I'm sort of in like focusing on an area that it's perfect. It's not too big. It's not too small. There's plenty of homes to sell, great average sale price, a lot of different types of housing. It's all within a stone's throw of where I live and where I like to work. So it's a really good fit. But the group is thriving. It's busy. We have about 250 people joining it every single month. I'm adding to my database every single month through the group, which I can say a little bit more about in a couple minutes. And there's a really high level of engagement. So in 2022, we closed about 2.5 million in volume from the group. Not a huge number, depending on your production. For us, being like a $30 million team, it was enough to be like, oh, this is like a building block, is how I looked at it. This year, we've already got that much volume in our pipeline, through the first quarter. I think this could easily be a $5 to $10 million arm of our business this year and only grow from there. So basically at the beginning of 2022 is when I put a content strategy in place, and started branding it properly and actually making an effort to capture leads. So I'd love to explain those three things, but that's been kind of the story of converting from old school farming to now just straight digital. And I don't do anything in print.
Okay. I love that. I just want to I just want to mention just a few things, because I want everyone to understand the great gold that you just dropped. Okay. I love that you're open, right? I mean, that you are, as a business owner, you are noticing and you are taking action as you pivot, because that's what the beauty of being an entrepreneur. All right. So you said that when the pandemic hit, you created a Facebook group for your VIPs, which I heard on the podcast would be what I call VIPs, your past clients and those who refer you. Okay. So that is a beautiful nutshell. And we can talk about content pillars there too. But then it dawned on you, hey, I have this group and let's pay some attention to it. In your, where it has the average sales price you want, right, ladies? Because I want them to know they're empowered to decide. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing to decide.
Yeah.
Look, this is where I want to be. This is where I live. This is a high average sales price. Let's really take this seriously. So go ahead, and 2.5 million for your first 12 months. I love that you said another key thing. I have the long-term view. CEOs have a long-term view, right? We don't need tit for tat. Oh, I posted and that must, that doesn't work for me. Let me move on. That's an immature right? That's a non-CEO amateur way to look at things. So bravo. So, and the fact that you have put together a plan, can you talk to us about those three things that you were mentioning? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love how much you get it. So thank you. It's
Yeah.
exciting to hear that. So yeah, at the beginning of 2022, it was like, okay, and it's true, right? Like I only like to do one thing at a time. So 2020 and even into 21, I was really focused on my VIP group. And I know like, let me get one system working and then I can duplicate, I can scale later. So just having that like patience of like, do one thing well and then the next. So I really did apply a lot of the same content pillars between the groups. So I have a lot of things that I've tried in that group and with varied success. And the great thing about social media marketing and content is you can really test, see what hits, do more of that, do less of the other things. So the first thing is actually just nurturing engagement in the group. Like people crowdsource in there like crazy. So I just encourage that. I highlight those posts. So as your group grows, just getting people to ask questions, like the most popular thing people want to talk about in my group is what restaurants are opening, what restaurants are good, and all of the different home service contractors, getting constant referrals for all the things we need to maintain our homes. And that's where I had my first great idea from like a simplicity and consistency standpoint was to launch something called Trade Tuesday. So what I did was I made like a templated post that went up every single Tuesday for over 6 months, requesting a different contractor every single week. So it was like, hey, everyone, it's Trade Tuesday. Please post your favorite painter, your favorite cleaner, your favorite handyman. And what that did was it was like a branded post with my brand colors, my logo, my font, all of that, and saying Trade Tuesday on it. And people saw my name and my brand every single week for months and months and months. And then those posts get great engagement because everyone wants to share their go-tos. And that was my content plan for, half of the year. And if anyone who's watching this has run a Facebook group, you might know that you can schedule posts out 2 months in advance. So I was doing this myself every, 2 months, I would just schedule the entire next 2 months and then put a reminder in my calendar for like when to schedule the next, like really just basic, like not complicated. Anyone can do this stuff. It doesn't require any sort of tech skill. You don't even need beautiful custom images. Like just text does so much in Facebook because people really do want to exchange valuable information. It's really refreshing if you're kind of burned out from like the Instagram grind of like creating really aesthetic reels and Canva images and all of that. If you're like, I can't design one more thing, I'm like, great, do a Facebook group. Just write one thoughtful, intelligent sentence or question. Like that's value.
I love it. I love it. I just want to say, ladies, do you see the simplicity? Simplicity, the consistency, right? Simplicity of, let me do Trade Tuesdays. Let me just really think about that because she has experimented and found that contractors and restaurants got the biggest engagement in her group. Therefore, let's give them what they want.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that you utilize something simple because women, we were like, oh, I don't want tech. Let me just go out and keep doing. No, that's not the right.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. I love that.
I love that. Yeah. Like 20 minutes of scheduling for, 2 months at a time. Like I am there for that. And I did want to say like, part of why I love this strategy is in 2020, I got pregnant. I had my first child in 21. I'm pregnant with my second right now. You just can't see my belly. But for me, thank you. But anything I can do from my house and not be out at night or on the weekend when I just want to be doing anything but working, like that's part of why I just love this strategies. I can do it from home. It doesn't matter how I'm dressed, doesn't matter anything. So anyway, that's just a sidebar on why I feel so passionate about using free social media tools when they make sense for you. So that's really my best like content idea is Trade Tuesday. Couple other things. We do a small business Saturday promotion once a month. And one of the things that I found that has made my group really successful is we don't allow spam and advertising. It's not a free for all. Every post is moderated. And what that means is what people get from the group is actual value. So I've learned a lot about how to run effective groups. That's definitely one of them is to like, when your group gets big enough, people start to want to use it for all of their own purposes. And you do really have to kind of be the arbiter of that if you want to maintain quality, which is like my brand, that's who I am. So we do Small Business Saturday. It's the third Saturday of every month. People can post whatever business they want to promote. Theirs, someone else's, they get their shot, and then we do it again a month later. Some people do small business promotions more often. I just picked once a month, and we've gone with that. I also do an events roundup on the first of every month. I have a templated post. It's the same every time. Hey, what's happening in the area in April? Fill us in, let us know. And that's, again, gets great engagement, lots of comment traffic, and that optimizes the algorithm for people to continue to see the group. But I saved my best content pillar for last, and that is running contests. This was an unintentional aha. What happened was, at the beginning of last year, we started hitting these big membership milestones. The first one was 2,000 members. And I was like, oh, we should do a giveaway. So I created a form with a bunch of lead capture questions, contact info, phone, email, home address. And then there's like a little checklist at the end to enter the giveaway. Hey, do you want to buy a house, sell a house? Do you need a CMA? Those were kind of my key questions. Are you curious about the value of your home? And people can kind of opt in to hear from me if they have a real estate need. So my contests do amazing. I always give away, for the most part, something local that people love and are passionate about. One of my best examples is, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. I don't think I said that at the outset. So Maryland people love crabs, if you don't know that. We're a crab central for the United States. So last fall, I did a very low cost giveaway. We gave away 12, like a dozen crabs from a really popular crab place with like a gift card to buy like whatever alcohol you wanted to go with it. So my spend was $125. And by the way, if you're starting your business or in a place where you're really tight on money, get a lender or title company or someone to sponsor these giveaways. You can totally do that. I've also had a lot of success with businesses just giving me the item because they want the promotion of my group. I have a lot of power now. I don't even throw it around as much as I should, but I've had a lot of like donated giveaway items. But anyway, I spent $125. We had 240 people enter the contest. I added 240 people to my database. They all go in my CRM. Of those 240, 8 of them were legitimate buyer or seller leads. And from that contest, we took one listing right away and sold it before the end of the year. So talk about spending $125 to earn 10,000. So
if that isn't proof in the pudding enough, that's amazing. I mean, the fact that, let's even think about that. If you had 8 divided by 240, that's 3.3%. And really, in this kind of marketing, when you get 1.5 to 2, that's like doing a back handspring. So like you doubled that.
Yeah, especially like in the climate we're in the United States, where there are just less units transacting across the board. Like I have a big database. I've been doing this forever, like we talked about. But at the end of the day, like a smaller proportion of my database is buying and selling right now because of just the less units to go around. More people are sitting and staying tight. And you can either just be like, okay, I'll have a bad year, I guess, or be like, no, I need a bigger database. I need to find more leads. So I've really leaned into these strategies of list building, running contests and giveaways to grow my database aggressively.
That's right.
I have been in this 3-year period where I reoriented my life to have way more work-life balance, started a family. I've been pregnant or nursing continuously for 3 years. It's harder to get out and meet people like when I was younger and had no boundaries and worked all the time. I'm in a different phase. So to be able to use these online tools to list build, grow my database, find leads easily because they've checked a box, it's the ultimate time hack. And it's a great way to grow your list. If there's a lot of reasons I find that people struggle to have a database big enough to meet their goals. Time and energy are big ones. So this is like the ultimate hack. I run giveaways monthly sometimes they're a little bit more interspersed. Every time we hit a membership milestone, we do a giveaway. We did another one at Thanksgiving. We gave away a pie that was donated by a bakery that is in the area where my group is. And similar scenario, several people said, oh, I'm a lead. One of them, we took a listing right away and it closed in January.
That's 2 months amazing. Yeah. So ladies, it's huge to keep it local. I really believe that. It's huge to keep it local. Okay. So what I'd love to do is go back to the beginning, or when you rededicated yourself to it. Where are you putting the invitation for people to join? Like, how do people find out about the Facebook group?
Great question. So I will say that my experience has been that when your group gets to a critical mass point, which if I look back over the trajectory, it was maybe about 1,000 members, not even, Facebook starts to suggest the group to people. So I would say 80% of our growth is literal organic Facebook serving the group to people who seem to be in that area, because the algorithm figures these things out very easily. The second way we grow is people adding their friends and neighbors to the group. And then we have a little bit of extra like promotion and PR about the group. Like it's included in certain calls to action. It's in a certain section of my website. I was just featured in a local magazine for the same area, that I actually got the cover of the magazine because the woman who edits the magazine is in the group. So it's sort of that.
Was that Baltimore Moms? Is that Baltimore Moms?
No, that was something else. That was a local Instagram account that I actually did a paid promotion for that one because it's like such a good target audience. Yes. But the magazine is called Living in Lutherville, or no, Lutherville Living, whereas my group is Living in Lutherville. So I literally volunteered to be on the cover. Like it was not like I say this because I'm like, I think people sometimes just don't realize that how simple it is to be your own publicist. It's volunteering to do things or to write things. And people are like, thank you. I needed to fill that hole in my content plan.
Yes, yes. And I want to stop there because I want the ladies to really hear what you just said. There is opportunity out there. Opportunity abounds for anyone watching this. You need passion, because you wouldn't have found, that opportunity wouldn't have presented itself, or if you would raise your hand and offer like an article that you wrote, right, pertinent to whomever, if you wouldn't have slowed down and gotten intentional, right? Because you're in a season of your life. You left a certain season, right? You left a season of, in your words, I think, you were free as a bird. You could do whatever you wanted, right? Now you have a child and you're pregnant again. And so you're in a different season. And so as you embrace this season, you're being very intentional with what you're doing so that you're creating the life that you want. Hello, we're entrepreneurs, ladies, which is why you're here, to be listing queen. So I have another question. I love to be real, and you seem very real, and I love that and appreciate that. And that's why you're here. When someone says, okay, I'm digging this, their brain is going to go to, uh-oh, but nobody's going to want to be in my group. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, but how do you do it? And all these question marks suddenly go above their brain. Yes, she can do it, but can I do it? Talk to us about how you worked through the disbelief, how you worked through the fear. That would be great if you could share.
Yeah. Well, I think look back to what I said, where I started the group and then literally abandoned it. So there's something about Facebook groups that I think is good to know, is they're flexible. You can start it, you might have a false start, you might get really busy and then be like, oh my God, no one sane is going to be like, what happened? No one's paying that much attention. So this is really something that you can build over time, whether you have a high focus productivity or a more slow grow long-term strategy. I've had a little bit of both, where, it was slow, then it was literally nothing. Then, I started to get some signs that I should pay attention. So I would say it's so common to be like, that works for her, but what about my market? What about my price point? I don't have the confidence she had, I've had all of those feelings and concerns. I always say my success is a testament to the fact that I've been in the industry a long time. I've just kept going, and I've built the habit of being my own publicist. I've been honing that for 15 years. So you can hear me, say, oh, I just asked to be on a cover of a magazine, I deserved it. And I did, because I'm used to doing my own PR, but you've got to start somewhere and just start taking the action. And if the action is just coming up with a name for your group, starting it, and maybe not even putting it publicly findable until you feel like it's ready, just start with something and trust that if you keep going and don't give up, the group may be the thing, or you may take a total left turn. I was really focused on my client group, and I love that I have that. It's very sweet and it's a great way for me to engage my past clients, but I'm making way more of a return on my digital farm. And that came after my client group, which I thought was going to sort of be like a savior for re-engaging my database. And instead I kind of discovered that it just sort of augmented what I was doing, but wasn't making a huge bottom line impact. It's a
Yeah.
great time saver. And it's a way for me to get messaging out without like over emailing or spending more on print. So my point is, what I figured out that works for me is because I've just stayed in the conversation, I've stayed in action. And then like you said it so well, you were like, I have the perspective of like noticing when something is worth investing a little more time and energy. So that's something I talk about a lot with the agents I coach, where I'm like, we're all sitting on a gold mine. Yours is different than mine, and hers is different than hers. You know, one person's gold mine might be an email list that they just have a bunch of emails but have never known what to say. And that's like a whole strategy there. For someone else, it could be a dormant Facebook group. For someone else, it could be this segment of moms that, you know, their kids are all the same grade as one of your children. And how could you host an event where you could meet them all? And like that, it's different for all of us. The first step is the two first steps would be to like look for what your gold mines are and then do something, even if it's really safe and it's not like a huge risk. Initiate something. I think that the secret to lead generation is being willing to initiate something.
Yes. Yes. I agree 100%. Being willing to feel extremely uncomfortable in getting into action, doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I love how you said that, like, I feel like you are willing to be raw and vulnerable, which I think a lot of people who aren't willing to be vulnerable, and that means trying something, which in being honest with it, right? Not defending, right? You don't need to defend that you had a dormant Facebook account
No.
for a certain amount of time. Who cares? Nobody, and to your point, nobody's noticing. Everybody's worrying about themselves.
Yes.
And then when you re-engage, well, how beautiful is that? When you can just decide. Now, I do want to say that, would you think this is helpful or not helpful within your group living in XYZ town to have 1, 2, or 3 kind of co-admins, whether it's a marketing assistant, whether it's one of your partners, like I know on the podcast I was listening to, you were talking about how, because I'm big on in my coaching in collaborations with local people.
Yes.
My gosh, your stager, your interior designer, your professional organizer, your plumber's wife, who is a great marketer, right? I mean,
Yep.
the plumber might not be, but his wife might be. So talk to me about what you feel about having co-admins within that group.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. So there's a few things that I've had really big success with. My first problem was actually because we have a moderated group where people cannot post without being approved. I became the bottleneck on posting. This is a great example of like, you just never know where a conversation's going to go. Someone was really snarky that it was taking forever for posts to be approved. And I was like, hey, I'm just one person. If you want to volunteer and help me, you're welcome to. And she was like, oh, I'd love to. And someone else was like, I'd love to too. So now I have 2 co-admins that their only role is to review and approve all the posts. And they review and approve 99% of the posts. Sometimes I see it and do it, but I leave it to them. And we do have there's interesting things that happen in Facebook groups. So it's really nice having other moderators who are like, should we put this through? Because we've found, I have a longer form version of this little course that I'm walking you through. And I've kind of learned some things the hard way. So that was my first leverage move, getting some help. And it was amazing. Once your group gets busy, that will be a need. Until then, maybe don't worry about it, but it will happen. And then the next thing is that I did bring on a marketing person at the beginning of this year to help with a bunch of stuff. I started to have I have a lot of different initiatives and several businesses really that I'm always thinking about. And I was like, I'm not as consistent with this group as I could be. So she helps. She's an outsourced contractor that I have a monthly flat fee contract with for various things. And part of our contract is she generates ideas for content ideas. She's now posting a lot of content on my behalf because I became the bottleneck on just getting the post scheduled. She is the queen of using PMs and DMs to sell and close. And I didn't realize what a lost opportunity I had by not PMing people as they join the group and just being like, hey, welcome, da 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 da. So now I'm paying her to, first we were PMing everyone who joined the group, but we actually have so many people joining, it wasn't a good use of resources. But we have membership questions that ask if they want to buy or sell or get a market analysis. And she reaches out aggressively to those people and does a lot of follow-up to convert the leads on the front end. So
Does she do that in your name? Is she logged in as you?
she is logged in as me, the person, and it's through me, not my page. So it's very personal.
Right, through your personal Facebook page, personal Facebook page. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. My
Excellent.
profile. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, I love that. So ladies, the membership questions. So if people like, I'd love to know, and I know we're running out of time. I just have 2 questions. What do you recommend for membership questions? Do you let them in if they don't answer?
I love that you asked this. So I'm going to pull them up just so I can read them to you verbatim. I do let them in if they don't answer because I'm more focused on growing the group than getting my membership questions answered.
Yeah.
Because I can always capture their info later with a contest. So that's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my questions are, there's 2. Number 1 is, do you want to find out the current value of your home? Please provide your email and home address, and I'll send you an instant valuation. And we don't get a huge conversion on that, but if people want it, they fill it out. Otherwise, they tend to leave it blank or say, no, thank you. And question 2 is, are you considering buying or selling a home in the area? And I get a lot of yeses. It's amazing how many people join a group to vet the area. It's like, duh, but it just wasn't something that I ever focused on until now. So those people get the, like, we track that, like my marketing person, she tracks them on a spreadsheet. Because the funny thing with Facebook is if you don't have emails, there's not like a great way to like put them in a CRM and automate. So she just manually PMs people with a templated message that I crafted. So it sounds like me.
Yeah.
And then she does some follow up, and if they're remotely interested in engaging with a realtor, they'll tend to respond. So
that's
what I do.
I love that. And I know that was the last question. I got one more.
Okay.
What if realtors want to get in your group? Do you let them in? Yes or no?
Heck no. And I'm sorry to keep watching this. If you already requested, we will turn you down. I mean, you can probably hear I've spent so much energy and time building this. I'm like, why would I make this a free for all for other people? So
thank you. So in that, so let's say I'm in your market, I'm a realtor, and I said, oh, this looks like a neat group that I could utilize for my lead gen, which I teach in my coaching, right? Yep. But I don't suggest they go into, and in fact, I always say, go find out who the admins are. If an admin is a realtor, there's plenty of other groups, or create your own. So do you block them so they don't even see it?
I haven't done as much blocking because it's felt a little aggressive, but I have had some people, like, now that the group is so big, we get a realtor requesting a local realtor every other day.
Yeah.
And so I have thought about maybe I should just block them so I'm not wasting time rejecting the same people over and over again.
Yeah, because that way, like, okay, so in my group, she's a CEO agent. It's for women realtors, team leaders, and brokers, right? Uh-huh. And so, little old me, I'm letting everybody in, right? If they answer my questions, or if they don't, then I let them sit there for a while. But my clients started telling me, hey, such and such coach is PMing me. Mm-hmm. The audacity, right? The audacity. So as that happens, I don't say a word. I just block them and they'll never see it again. So I don't see it as aggressive. I see that as, to your point, I worked hard on my group, like you worked hard on yours. So I wanted to know, if you let realtors in. So listen, ladies, this is something that we take seriously. This is a strategy. And I love the efficiency and money. Look, the 3 things we need to make sure that we protect: time, money, energy.
Yeah.
Right? So ladies, this is your group. How can people find you? I want to make sure that our ladies can find you.
Yeah. Okay. So the easiest is Instagram at Tina Beliveau. And then I do have a playbook on how to do this with like screenshots, my membership questions. So I don't know if there's somewhere we can share a link, but I'm happy to share.
Actually, let's have that be a freebie.
Okay.
And so ladies, we will get that for you. That would be fabulous.
Yeah. For the people who are like, how do I get started? It ends with like, do these couple things, and that's how you can get going. So I would say those are the best ways. And I also do run a group for realtors called relationship driven real estate with Tina Beliveau. So that's my place to, if you want to come ask me questions, join that one, not my digital farm group. And I can help you over there.
Oh, that sounds great. Tina, thank you so much.
Thank you. What a great opportunity. And it was just really fun chatting with you. So thank you.
Much
Thank you.
fun. Thanks, Tina.